What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your review for Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 1, Episode 19. We are at the season finale. Next week, they're giving us a two-part reunion. Now, let me tell y'all something. I'm a little bit torn. I'm be honest with y'all. I'm a little torn. Because I had been reaching out to Mr. Carlos King for weeks about this reunion. I wanted to come. I wanted to be in the audience. I wanted to try to get there. And now I see y'all had the reunion, honey. Carlos, you could have hit a sister back. I DM'd you, I emailed you, I tweeted you. You could have said, no, you can't come. You could have said, no, we already filmed it. You could have let a sister know. But okay, here we are. You didn't have the reunion without me. It's all good. It's all good. Melody is moving out. Melody said, I've asked Martell to leave. Martell won't leave, so I'm leaving. I'm going to stay with a friend. He can take care of the kids, and I will not be back until we have our gender reveal. Now, what I find very interesting is Melody ain't even showing yet, but they have had time to plan this gender reveal. And Melody made a comment about, well, we planned it in better times, and I'm thinking, well, when the hell were better times? Because based on the show, y'all were sleeping in separate bedrooms before you even found out you was pregnant. So when were y'all getting along well enough to plan this gender reveal? But okay. I don't know if I necessarily would have had a gender reveal with a man that I'm thinking about divorcing to the point where I already have divorce papers drawn up and I'm moving out the house. But Melody, do you, girl. Do you, girl. We see a really good scene between Melody and Latisha. We know at the beginning of the season, the two of them were butting heads and it got really nasty. But it was nice to see that they were at a point where they could sit down and talk. Latisha said, look, people been blowing me up about those social media posts. What is really good? I'm coming to the source and what's going on. Now, Latisha, you still came off a little bit like you was being nosy, but I appreciate that you went to Melody's house to check on Melody instead of sending her a text or whatever. You trying to be a better friend than what she said you were before. So I can appreciate that. But Melody explained, that look, I just can't. I just can't with this anymore, and I'm leaving for a little while because me and Martell, we are really at a crisis point and we really need to figure this out. So then she asked Latisha, well, how you doing? And Latisha said, well, I feel like my problems are small compared to what y'all are going through. And she said, girl, tell me what's up. So she goes on to talk about how she feels like Marcel is just not there for her. He takes her for granted. There's no romance. He's not, she said, I'm doing everything. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm this, I'm that. And I just feel like he is not there for me. He don't meet me halfway. He doesn't give me what I need. And Melody was like, Now, y'all know that Melody is convinced between her and Martell, whether it was information Martell told her or receipts that she has for herself, she's convinced that Marcel has cheated on Latisha. So I can again appreciate that in this moment, she wasn't throwing that at Latisha. She wasn't making nasty comments to Latisha. She was listening, letting her talk, and just being a friend. So for both of them, I can appreciate that they were there for each other in that moment. It was nice to see. Then we see Maurice talking to Kiowa. Kimmy's in the next room. Maurice is talking to Kiowa. She's saying, look, I haven't been able to find a job. I'm not sure if I'm moving down there. I don't know how that's going to work out. He said, well, look, school starts in a couple of weeks. I need all the monsters' paperwork so we can get him enrolled and get him ready for school. And, Kiowa was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I've always taken him to school on the first day of school. I just don't know how I'm going to feel about missing that. Like, I'm feeling some kind of way. So then she said, well, what about church? Y'all going to church down there? And you could tell that caught Maurice off guard. Now, Maurice don't be going to no church. He said, well, yeah, we're going to work on that. We're going to find something. It'll probably be non-denominational, but we'll find something. And then Kimmy's in the next room like, we are? I'm not giving up my Sunday brunch. We finding a church? When is that happening? Who doing that? Where they say that? And he gets off the phone and comes in there. And Kimmy was like, you just don't get it. Because he was all excited and happy. Like, you hear that? Monster going to be at school and da-da-da-da-da-da. And she was like, I'm happy for you. He said, happy for me? You should be happy for us. And she was like, this is not about us. This is about you. And I'm happy for you. And, then Maurice threw a little nasty comment that I didn't really appreciate. oh, well, I guess I just feel differently about Monster than you do. Don't do that, Maurice. That was low, and that wasn't nice. I don't, it's not about Kimmy not loving your son or having a relationship with your son. It's about what she said, the fact that you are continuously making unilateral decisions that are going to affect them as a family unit without discussing it with her. Now, you done told this woman that y'all going to start going to church and y'all going to find a church to go to. You ain't asked Kimmy what she want to do with her Sunday mornings. And at the end of the day, you can't judge this woman if she don't want to go to church. If that's not what y'all been doing together as a couple, and you're going to make this promise to this woman without having the conversation with your wife, Maurice, that's not cool. And I don't think you're getting it. Kimmy is explaining it to you every which way she knows how, and you keep bringing it back to, I want my son, I want my son, I want my son. So what she said is valid. This is about you. This is about you. You want your son and you have tunnel vision. And again, I'm happy for you because I appreciate the fact that as a black man, you want to raise your son. I can respect the hell out of that. But you can't bulldoze everybody in your life around that. You can't. You can't. Anyway, over to the other skies. Now, this scene was a hot mess because I really felt like, I'm going to be honest with y'all, this scene came off very fake, contrived, and planned to me. We have mama-in-law folding up the clothes. We have Marceau coming in there basically telling her, your daughter's ready for you to leave. We appreciate all that you've done, but go on and pack up. We're going to get you on the road. You going back to Birmingham. And she was like, what you talking about, Marceau? My daughter don't want me to leave. My daughter wouldn't say that. And then here come Latisha. What y'all talking about? It just came off so fake, but I'm going to go on and go through with it. So, and Marceau, you was wrong the way you worded that. You came in there real nasty and condescending, like up on your mama-in-law. But at the end of the day, what you said wasn't wrong. Your delivery was a little bit off, but what you said wasn't wrong. Mama-in-law, you have overstepped your bounds from the minute you walked in that door. You are disrespectful to their relationship. You are disrespectful to their marriage, and you are disrespectful to your son-in-law. And Latisha, you are wrong for allowing your mother to interfere in y'all's marriage. But you let her do it because she's saying all the stuff that you want to say, but you can't or won't. That's why you let her go. You let her go on and on and on like the Energizer Bunny because she's saying what you really want to say. And Marceau was like, well, didn't we just have a conversation and basically we decided that it was pretty much time for your mother to go. And Latisha was like, that's not what we said. We said that things weren't really working out. And Marceau was like, right, so if things ain't working out, then it's time for her to leave. Mama-in-law talking about, I ain't going nowhere. You can't put me out. I ain't going nowhere. Okay, y'all don't want me to take care of the kids no more. That's cool. I'll just hang out here and chill out. Marceau was like, that's not how this works. Like, you came here to help. If that's not working out, I need you to go home. So then he said, I'll tell you what, I'll go stay in an apartment because I'm not going to live under, and basically I'm not going to live somewhere where I'm being disrespected. And I don't blame him because she's very disrespectful to y'all's marriage. And Latisha, you're going to have to get a big enough backbone and have these conversations with your husband. You can't keep using this woman. I'm not going to say this woman. You can't keep using your mother as your mouthpiece to say what you really want to say to your husband. That's not fair to everybody. So the argument continued to go on and on to the point where Latisha did not tell her mother she had to leave. And so her mother was like, I ain't going nowhere. And Latisha walked off talking about something. Y'all need to work this out. Y'all need to work this out. Well, clearly they can. And mama-in-law was like, I ain't going nowhere. Bye, Marceau. And, I wouldn't blame Marceau for rolling out and going to get in that apartment he's threatening to get. Because that's ridiculous. And again, her just rolling up in y'all bedroom willy-nilly, her getting in the middle of y'all conversations, her just talking to you any old kind of way, that's just disrespectful, And if she really is that extra and that over the top, honey, I don't blame Marceau. Anyway. Now over to Holt and Hope. Melody is back home for the gender reveal. She ain't been there. So now she is irritated because the house is in disarray because Martell, who has been, playing Mr. Mom because she done left him there with the kids. He, Mr. Super Dad, I got it going on. I'm the daddy of the year. The house ain't ready. Melody was like, you told me that all I was going to have to do was show up, decorate, and put on my smile. But no, I come home, I got to clean, I got to wipe down tables, I got to make beds. She said, well, I'm making the bed that I didn't even sleep in. Now, personally, I feel like you didn't need to make the bed because ain't nobody need to be upstairs. But okay. But some people, that bothers them. A bed not made is a problem for them. So then, Martell going to actually expect that Melody was going to iron his shirt talking about, oh, so you're not going to do your duties? What is up with these men and duties? Y'all ain't even living together. What made you think that woman was going to iron your shirt? Ciao. So, of course, Melody is irritated. She's overwhelmed. She's irritated. She already don't really want to be there. I mean, clearly this was an obligation that, I don't know if this was for the show obligation or just them keeping up appearances obligation. But clearly Melody is over it at this point. She is over all of it. But, because people are trying to be happy for her, and she's just like, And like she said, the baby itself is a blessing, but clearly the circumstances surrounding the baby being born is not, And so the more people are like, congratulations, and this and the other, Melody is just over it. Melody is just like, whatever. Yeah, congratulations. Okay. All right. And, we have the gender reveal. They do it as like a drone. The drone goes up in the air and then it opens up, and of course whatever is blue or pink, and it was pink rose petals, or I ain't gonna say they were rose petals, but pink flower petals. So they're having a little girl, which is cool. Now something else that they've been saying, and again, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, all of y'all that know all the gossip of what's going on down to the Love and Marriage Huntsville. Doesn't Martell already have a child, an older child, outside of like that he had before he married Melody? I thought he did. Correct me if I'm wrong, because he keeps talking about how many kids he wants, and they're only counting the kids, their kids. But I thought he had another child. But okay. So everybody shows up for the gender reveal. They're all there and everything is cool. Mom-in-law's there and his father showed up. And his mother and father seem to get along really well. So I'm glad to see that, that they not shooting daggers at each other from opposite sides of the room, so that's cool. He was glad his dad showed up. So, that's cool. Glad to see that. Glad to see daddy there. Melody and Latisha have another moment, and Melody is letting Latisha know that she's overwhelmed, that she's tired, letting her know that the house wasn't clean. Just let her know what all happened before she got there, how she's just over it. Martell and Marceau end up talking, and again, it's a testament to see how far they've come, because remember at the beginning of the season, Martell was not seeing it for Marceau. But they were talking, and Martell was letting Marceau know, like, look, she talking divorce and stuff, but I ain't worried about it because I know I'm a good man and I know she ain't going to find nobody better than me. And Marceau was like, do you really understand what's going on here? Like, your woman is about to leave you and it's going to be another man raising your kids. Like, how do you feel about that? And Martell was like, that ain't going to happen. She can't find nobody to be what I am. She ain't going to find another man like me. And I'm thinking to myself, she going to try. She could damn sure try. Now I don't know what I don't know what it is you think she can't find, because I'm sure she can find a man that's gonna cheat on her. But Martell is really Marceau is really trying to have a conversation with Martell, and Martell is just not, he's just not here for it. Like, he's just not accepting the status of his marriage with the Melody. Like, he just is not getting it. So after the gender reveal, everything goes back to being what it is. Melody is not in the house. And she's at the point now where she says she's not even answering Martell's phone calls. If it's not about their children, she's not even talking to him, because she said he was blowing up her phone, calling her all day and all night about nothing, just to get her on the phone. So she was on her way to go tape a podcast for Latisha's podcast. We're going to get back to the podcast in a minute. Martell happened to see her, turned around and followed her, and you could tell that this was an unplanned scene, because you could see that the cameraman didn't even have the right sound set up, and they were trying to get close enough so they could get it on tape and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, Martell is like, you don't talk to me. Why you not calling me? We need to talk. And Melody was like, we don't have nothing to talk about. He was like, what you talking about? We have children. We have businesses. We got another kid on the way. Like, I don't even know what's going on with this divorce. Melody was like, you going to get the papers next week. You'll get the papers next week, and then it is what it is. And he was like, so you saying that our marriage is over? Our marriage is really over? Melody was like, yes. Yeah. So, they end up having this really it was a bad argument. Melody got loud. Martell was like, look at where you are. Look at where you are. You doing this again. You out here in public so everybody know what's going on. Look at what, so he's not wanting to have the argument because he don't want, probably between the cameraman and just people in the vicinity to be able to hear what's going on. And he ends up getting in his car and pulling off. Latisha pulls up, and Melody, again, they have another moment, and Melody ends up crying and, telling her what's going on or whatever. And she says, I don't like talking to Martell because he messes up my whole day. Talking to him puts me in a bad mood that messes up my whole vibe. So they end up canceling the podcast for that day because Latisha says she is not in any mood to really have this conversation. Now, Maurice finally has a conversation with Monster. Now, what I find interesting is that y'all making all these moves and ain't nobody talk to Monster. Monster is old enough to have a conversation. That doesn't mean that you have to listen to what he's saying. But it seems to me that before you start offering people to move into your house and relocate out of state and all this other stuff, somebody should have sat down and had a conversation with Monster. And it should have been Maurice, Kiowa, and Monster. And if y'all wanted to include the significant others, both of them should have been there. Kimmy and Kiowa's husband. But neither here nor there. And y'all should have sat down and explained to Monster. Your mom and I always said that you would spend this amount of time with her, and then it would be my turn. And so at this time, it's my turn. And so it's time for you to come and live with Dad. You know that means coming to Huntsville. How do you feel about it? Now, that does not mean that you have to do what he says do because he's still the child. But Monster done said, I don't really want to move down here. So after all of these chess pieces that you're moving around the board, Maurice, your son doesn't even want to live in Huntsville. Now, again, that does not mean you have to listen to what he's saying. But you should have heard the conversation. And y'all should have had this conversation should have been had. He said, look, no offense or anything. I don't like it down here like that. I don't want to go to school down here. I have my friends and everybody, back home. So then he said, well, is my mom coming? And they said, well, that's what we're working on. We're working on, getting your mom down here. And he said, well, why don't she move in the house with us? That way we can all be there together. Maurice was like, yeah, that's not the plan. But, it was just a really interesting conversation because, like I said, after all of that, Monster don't even want to live in Huntsville. And you didn't take any of that into consideration, that you were taking him away from his friends, and all of that. And again, Maurice, I understand where you're coming from, but I just don't think you're taking everything into consideration. And like Kimmy said, this is about you. It's not about Monster. It is about you. But anyway. So last but not least, honey, we see where Latisha is filming, is taping her podcast. I think it said Business Moms or Moms About Business or something like that. And because Melody didn't do it because of what happened with her and Martell, she ended up getting Marceau on there. And the podcast basically ended up, she ended up really putting him on the spot about things in their marriage and basically letting him know that there were times when she thought about divorce and, there were times in their marriage where she wanted to leave, but she stayed for the kids and that it's about love for her. And Marceau was sitting there like, what? Like, I thought we were going to be talking about business and stuff. Like, how did we get on our relationship? And why are we talking about divorce? Like, what's going on here? But come to find out, they only dated for a month before Marceau proposed. And he said, look, you ain't got to eat the whole bucket of ice cream to know that you like the flavor. I said, Marceau, you a damn fool. He said, you can look at a house and know you want to move in that house. You want that house. And I'm thinking to myself, child. So it sounds like in their first couple of years of marriage, they hit some bumps in the road. They hit a couple of bumps in the road. And that Latisha thought about divorce. And it sounds like that was news to Marceau. Then we find out that Latisha's aunt told her, God bless the child that's got his own. And so she has a savings account that she's been depositing money into every payday since they got married. Now, mind you, they've been married for 14 years. Even if she only been putting in $10 a payday, $10 times, 2 times 12 times 14 plus interest, that's a good little piece of change Latisha sitting on. And I'm sure she putting more than $10 a month in there. I mean, $10 a payday. But Marceau didn't know anything about it. He said, so basically you have a divorce me fund? And Latisha was like, no, but she said, I forgot all about it. You ain't forgot about nothing, girl. You knew about that. You know that money going into that account every payday, child. Even if it's $10, you know what's going in there. And Marceau you could tell he was feeling some kind of way, and he ain't like the way that conversation ended at all. They got to the end of that podcast, honey, and Marceau was like, oh, we gonna have this conversation. But Latisha, she, felt like he was questioning, that he was making fun of her. And I don't feel like he was making fun of her. I think that he was saying, look, I ain't come here for us to examine our relationship. I thought we was coming to talk about something else. And I feel like you kind of blindsided me with this conversation and kind of putting him on the spot. But that was pretty much it, y'all. Next week is the reunion part 1. And at the end of the day, we know that the Holts are back together. So once again, we have this dramatic climax at the end of the season about whether the Holts are going to stay married. And we know they still together. But we'll see how it all played out. I'm sure they're going to explain to us how they got from here to where they are now and what sort of healing they went through in therapy and counseling and all that good stuff. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments, peace.